Shade agent credentials authenticated. Authorization granted. Playing audio file.
Okay. I know I left that last drop on a bit of a cliff. But here's the thing. I'm leaving these for posterity. In case we can't beat this thing. If the mission fails, if the division falls, I want there to be a record of who we were. Of how we fought and how we died trying to save what remains. They'll be uploaded to the Shade database, but they'll also be scattered around for others to find down the line. Now that said, I should probably explain who we are, because the next part can't really be explained without it. So, for that, I need to go back a ways. World War II. And no, I'm not kidding, just bear with me. In 1940, the British government was fully expecting an invasion from the German army. They expected to fall, but they weren't going down without a fight. They formed a group called the GHQ Auxiliary Units. They were something of a stay-behind covert force. If the German army took the British Isles, the units would become active. And they were trained in guerrilla and irregular warfare. They were meant to disrupt German forces by any means necessary. They would attack an invading force from behind their own lines. Now, this never came to pass. The Germans were never able to make their way into Britain. But this stay-behind force is a concept that the United States took notice of. Fast forward a bit to the Cold War. The United States and the CIA began refining more extensive continuity of government measures in the event of a nuclear strike from the USSR. These measures would include national martial law, underground reserve governments, and more classified measures that even I can't see. Now, fast forwarding a bit more, and here's a story I think you might know. In June of 2001, there was an exercise held in Washington, D.C., known as Operation Dark Winter. The participants were high-level government and healthcare officials, trying to determine what would be the result of a bioterror attack in the States. Try and guess what disease they used in the simulation. If you guessed smallpox, give yourself a pat on the back. The exercise was a simulated covert smallpox attack in Oklahoma, Georgia, and Pennsylvania over the span of 13 days. The findings were less than ideal. And apparently, they were pretty accurate. Number 1. Massive civilian casualties. Breakdown in essential institutions, violation of democratic process, and civil disorder. Number 2. Current organizational structures are not well suited to handle a bioweapon attack. There are fault lines that exist between different levels of government, and these fault lines will make the situation harder to handle. 3. There is no surge capacity in U.S. healthcare. This could result in hospitals becoming overwhelmed and becoming inoperable. 4. The media will be a challenge for all levels of government. What did I say that second thing that hit DC was? And 5. Should a bioweapon be used, there will be a lot of ethical, political, cultural, operational, and legal challenges. Really puts into perspective how safe we used to feel, huh? Even back in 2001, they knew we'd have no chance if shit hit the fan. And so, 6 years later, President Bush signed a new directive. Presidential Directive 51. See, the checks and balances system keeps any one branch of government from having too much power. Directive 51 overrides that, giving the executive branch a leading role in, quote, the event of a catastrophic emergency. This was released quietly, with no press briefing, no nothing. And it was created in response to Dark Winter's findings. Now, on the unclassified version, for anyone who stumbled on the White House's website, there's not much to see. It's got some key phrases like continuity of government and national security measures. But there are annexes that weren't disclosed to the public, or even Congress. One of those annexes ordered the creation of the Strategic Homeland Division. Those that work within the division report directly to the President, and were meant to maintain order in those catastrophic emergencies. Once Directive 51 gets signed, like it did back in December, the President can activate the sleeper agents embedded across the country, in waves, in specific locations, or all at once. And once they're activated, they start working. Did you know there was an Ebola case here in the States back in 2014? I didn't. Not until I started looking through the SHADE database for information on our history. But, yeah, in Dallas, Texas, there was an Ebola scare. Only 2 people died, but there was a slew of mistakes and misdiagnoses. Even though Dark Winter occurred 13 years before, and there were things put into place to help mitigate these biological scares, there was still a reason to point fingers here at such a small case. It's not even big enough to be considered an outbreak. But it was enough for the executive branch to tap into the classified black budget, and they started reallocating a ton of money towards the Strategic Homeland Division. And we started ramping up covert recruiting, training, and tech production. Cut to the present, and here we are now. A bunch of highly trained, decked-out, autonomous cowboys. The division is loosely based on those GHQ units from World War II. We're basically a stay-behind force for when shit hits the fan. Once an agent has been trained, they embedded back into everyday society, spread across the country. No one knew about us. The division was a secret, and it was well kept. Agents would pick a location, and they'd just live. They'd have friends, find a job, use public services. That way, if the call ever came, they'd know the place like the back of their hand. They'd patrol the neighborhoods they'd walked 1,000 times. The people would know them, and hopefully by then they'd trust them. Once an agent activates, they're deployed out to wherever the hot zone is, and they'd outrank every single authority in the field. This lets them cut through red tape, jurisdictional boundaries, bypass laws. Simply put, an activated division agent outranks everyone, and they are above the law, just so long as their actions are in accordance with the mission. The mission statement of the Strategic Homeland Division is to protect the populace and secure the continuation of the United States of America in times of catastrophic emergency, no matter the cost. Acting as an extension of the President, we will assist federal and state actors by providing a unified picture of any national crisis and guide them to decisions that are in the best interest of the people. Our mandate is to take action wherever and whenever needed, to fight rising threats against the security of the nation and its people, to seize back control, and to do whatever it takes to save what remains. You know, we'd have to repeat that 1,000 times in training, and I still can't get it right without reading it. So, sorry if I sounded a bit like a robot there, but moving on. There's more to the division than just those field agents out there. The division is split into 3 separate departments: R&D, operations, and support. R&D, the research and development, are the guys who build our toys. They create the SHD technology, or SHADE tech for short. They maintain our arsenal, they maintain field equipment and gear, whatever we need to complete a mission. Operations are the fieldwork guys. These are the sleeper agents I've been talking about. Whenever Directive 51 isn't in play, the operations department is completely offline. Now once they come online, they're deployed out to wherever they're needed to restore order. And once they've done that, they deactivate and go home. And finally, you have the fuckers like me that run support. We handle all the minute details. Communications, paperwork, finance, HR, and when the Direct-51 switch got flipped, we also picked up mission support, logistical planning, intel analysis. That's what I was doing before I started this little side project. Just sitting in a core, going over the intel pulled from our agents. Right, cores. So a big part of how the division works is our command is decentralized. That way a single strike can't knock us out, or at least shouldn't. There are 3 main cores, these big bunkers across the nation, as well as smaller shade nodes providing local coverage should a core go offline. Each core houses a support group and servers for the shade network. The network allows each agent access to all of our information. It also keeps our tech running and provides communication over long distances. Cores are located in... Come on. I'm not that stupid. I might be leaking classified information here, but I'm not about to tell you fuckers where I am. Now, you want that information? You work for it.